I just wanted to get rid of the fluff and then only save the second recording because then you guys can know, and then people who are rewatching. I think that this might be a good opportunity to just go through, like, although you three know already. We'll talk, you know, what we'll talk about is, nope.
Doriana just said she had a power outage.
Who did?
Doriana.
Okay, that sucks. Okay, so did they? Sorry, guys, I'm talking to Alina because I'm just now, she's dealing with a million things, and usually it fills me in, but it didn't this time. And so I'm just a little bit, okay, you know, when you've been in a tunnel. So I was going to say, what we can do today is we can talk about how we can effectively recycle and repurpose stuff. I think that would be beneficial to everyone, even if you already do that. So does that sound good? Unless you guys have, like, we could also do more direct stuff that you guys personally have questions on, and we can walk through those as well, because I know that that would be valuable. And then anyone that's rewatching would also probably benefit because they either had that question or didn't know that they had that question, kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I have questions.
Oh, let's get there. Let's do it.
So I've done a few tutorials for you now, I think 3 or 4, and I've noticed that my tutorials are overly ambitious in general, and I'm trying to simplify them. And the blogs are really long. They have like over 1,000 words. One of them was over 1,500. And I'm just wondering what your best tips are for, like, simplifying for what you've seen, what we've been doing now, because I think a lot of people are being ambitious.
When you say a lot of people are being ambitious, outside
on
of
the design team, I think we have like ambitious ideas for big tutorials that might be more suited to like a Skillshare class than just a quickie tutorial.
Yeah, I know nothing about that, right?
And the woman that's not on her design team anymore, she did that really simple doodle one that was 7 minutes, and I noticed that was getting a ton of views. And so I was like,
yeah, I'm glad you bring it up, because Alina actually asked me about that when it went up, and I said, you know, I said, you know, it's actually not a bad thing. She goes, I don't get it because you were saying this and this. I'm like, no, it's actually good. So when I was talking to you guys about scaling down, that's kind of what I meant. In this, I wouldn't, not everything's so simple all the time, but simplicity is so good because it's showing people something that's so bite-sized that it's digestible and they can implement it right now. So if I'm going to respond to her in a minute. If you do have like I have this big project that I want to do, before you dive into it and before you start planning the whole thing, like, you know, like these ambitious blog posts and whatnot, that might seem catered toward a blog post or something, instead get it on paper, write down the idea, and then look at the idea and think, okay, this is actually perfect, Kelly, because this is what I was talking about with repurposing, because that grander idea doesn't have to necessarily feel, hi Teresa, doesn't have to necessarily feel like so grand when it can be repackaged into something like a bite-sized class. And then, so on paper, you're seeing this, and then you can find like, okay, what areas of this can stand on its own? What part of this could be standing on its own, in the sense of like, okay, I'm not going to show you a start to finish where you're going to walk through all of these processes and go through all of these things to, you know, you're learning a skill, you're building on the skill, you're coming out with this final project, but rather, hey, how do you do this one quick thing in you use Procreate? So how do you do this one quick thing? So it's like, or like making so Nicole had done doodles, which is what she was referring to, like, 3 different ways to create a cute retro TV, I think is what it was, or something. So it could be as simple as like, let's see, you do animation.
I also, I was gonna do a floral wreath,
Okay.
and then I'm like, brought it down to a leaf, from a wreath to a leaf.
Yeah.
So
no, that's exactly, like, that's an awesome mindset. And honestly, a lot of this is like, you don't start thinking this way until you start doing it a few times, which is totally normal, and that's okay. But exactly what you just said, I was gonna say, you want to do this whole wreath. Well, what you could do is do this entire project, take a couple elements, like maybe a flower or maybe a leaf, and build that up and see, this is what that end result is going to look like. Here's how to do it. Isn't that fun? And then that could be your blog post. And then from there, though, you could bite size that even more into like 3 steps. And it's just like, bam, bam, bam. There's no instruction necessarily. When you see, okay. This is my welcome to the inner workings of my brain. When you see like those posts that are like, do this, not that. And it's literally just someone holding their pen above a certain thing and then doing it wrong, but then holding it up, doing it right, something like that. So that kind of stuff is really great to repurpose. It makes it really easy. But you guys, now this isn't necessarily on design team, but it's so much a part of what we're talking about right now that I have to share. If you guys have ever thought about doing, okay, here we go. Ready? Let's say you have these huge, let's just scale this. Okay. You have this huge, ambitious idea. Kelly and Leanne are perfect examples of this. Now, I don't want to confuse you guys. Don't want to confuse you, but let's say you are going into a stepping stone of starting to teach classes all the time, or maybe you're already doing that, but let's scale it. Okay. Let's say you've got all this stuff planned out. You have this awesome idea. And then, leave me alone, Alina. She's like, are you sure you're okay? She knows I've been working 18 hours every day, you guys. Like, my brain is fully fried. Okay, I wish I didn't have notifications on. I don't know how to turn them off, but you guys know my brain, it's okay. So let's say you have this grand scale. Okay, have everything out. And then what I want you guys to do always is look at it and think, what isn't absolutely necessary to include in this class / content / tutorial / lesson / whatever, in order to achieve the final outcome, which is X. So basically, you're always looking at what, like, starting with the end in mind. What is it that somebody is actually trying to achieve? What's your promise in what somebody will walk out of after watching, reading, whatever, your content? Okay, so you have your end result in mind, and then analyze and think, what is not absolutely necessary to include in here? Okay, from there, rather than eliminating it, you're going to just move it. You're just going to take all of that juicy content that you already came up with. It doesn't matter if it's scripted, it doesn't matter if it's just a bullet point, it doesn't matter. But you're going to take that and you're going to move it over here for your bite-sized content somewhere else, or to expand on for another giant piece of content. Does that make sense? It is the best thing you've ever done, I promise, because then you're not sitting there trying to think, no, it's Myra, it's just talking about in general, like, when you have like a big idea that's a little more ambitious than you meant for it to be, or if you have an idea and you just want to get it all out on paper and then figure out where it fits. So a quick recap of that thought process is like, figure out what it is that you want your participant, I'm going to call people, to achieve by the end of consuming that content, and then prune anything else that's not fully necessary of all of your ideas that you dumped on paper. And then the parts that you pruned, move them over somewhere else. And those items you can analyze them like, okay, what does that item look like? Is this something that could be bite-sized content that might be like a perfect blog post, you know? This is if we scale really big, and you're looking at like class stuff. But if it's not scaled that big and it is a blog post, that's the way that you're analyzing this, and the information left is a blog post. What you pruned could be, honestly, it could be another blog post, really, because these don't have to be so crazy in depth. And the other part of it is, oh man, so many moving parts all the time, and I'm only one person. The other part of it is, if it is a blog post and you move it over, it could be bite-sized, like what Kelly and I are talking about. It's like, or what I was specifically saying to Kelly's question, which is, it could be a standalone post of some kind that leads up and is almost like a teaser that brings people into your bigger content. And it could be as simple as like, you know, my 5 tips for creating the optimal whatever. And that stuff just didn't have to be in your tutorial, or you could keep it in there. But I'm just thinking, like, if you did have, pro tips or like side notes, like think about how much when you're going
insane down there.
That's so sad.
Teresa, you're being disruptive in the class.
Oh, sorry, I'm not muted. I'm so sorry. I thought I was muted. Oh my gosh.
You're so embarrassed. Oh my gosh, look at those strippers. She's in Vegas right now, you guys.
I'm about to go get a massage and we couldn't get our bagel. But what are we gonna do?
I'm surprised you're even here. Okay.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm so embarrassed. Not really, but
okay. I think it's hilarious that Teresa is awake in Vegas at 9 o'clock in the morning. Is it 9? It's Pacific time, right? Or is it 10?
yeah, it's 9. Well,
Yeah.
it's solely because we have a massage at 10.
Okay. Well, very well. And that she's on this call right now.
Because I love you, Peggy. Ask Tessa. I've been talking about how much I love you the whole vacation.
Yeah, she won't shut up about it.
Oh my gosh, I wish I was there.
You can come tonight.
Nope.
Just hop on a plane.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
I muted her like a nasty. Okay, but these tiny bits, let's just say anytime that you are writing or bullet pointing or whatever, you're going to naturally, or just talking, because some of us don't do all of the bullet points and we just dive in and we're just talking. If you feel or see the urge to add like extras of any kind, whether it be, and just so you know, like I'm the epitome of this, so I understand it. Like I am an oversharer, but what that can do is it can overwhelm the people that are viewing or reading, because we have to think about every single time that there is a beginner who is consuming this information, there is an intermediate person and there is an advanced person. So, and this is any of your content, not just for the pigeon letters, anything. So we have to think about like meeting them where they are, but always catering to the beginner in some way. So if you sense or feel or like whatever yourself as you're planning out content that is like an opportunity to say also XYZ, or also pro tip on this, or side note, blah, 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 you can take a minute. I do this all the time too, and write it on the side and return to it, because that alone could be the headline for your next piece of content. because we don't have to make a masterpiece every time, and we shouldn't, because that's going to exhaust us. So one of the reasons that we didn't cover this in the beginning was because I know not everybody here is used to making this kind of content, or you are and you're not used to being able to kind of stretch it. And you're not doing anybody a disservice by stretching it, because you're giving them fully focused, intentional education every single time. Does that make sense? So think of those as opportunities. Now, this is also an aside, but this is more for you than it is for the pigeon letters. But those of you who are ambitiously working on classes, which I applaud you and I think it's so fun, right? Okay, I'm so excited, like I know this journey. But the same applies. So in a different way, I'm going to restructure this. This is where I am doing what I'm telling you guys not to do, but this is like a mastermind, so shut up. Okay, do you see how quick I shifted as soon as I was like, remove distractions, we're getting into this. You don't have to be as honest as I am, but that's fine. All right, so here, think about this. Let's say you have like, you have all of this opportunity in your classes to structure it however, and naturally, organically, you're going to come up with ways for your participants to participate, which is why I like to call them participants, because you want them actively engaged in your classes. So anytime that you feel like, oh, this might be an opportunity for like a deliverable of sorts, whether it be like a template or anything like that. I will tell you, a lot of you guys are on Skillshare or want to go to Skillshare, and I just had they just had their quarterly top teacher meeting yesterday, and they actually did talk about this, so it's perfect timing that they are looking for this. But I have my own way of basically supporting materials, for what you know what this means, but I have my own way of going about doing this, which is when it's effortless. And this is why I say don't film your intro. Do not film your intro until the end, because as you're filming, you're going to come up with all of these ideas and all of this content and all of this stuff that you're thinking of. So yeah, take time to write stuff aside if you don't think it's absolutely necessary to include. But if you find the opportunity to include some sort of downloadable or a template of some kind, or even if it's like just your supply mention, fancy that up in a beautiful PDF and add more to it that's like, you know, so that way you can say this in the intro, this class also includes a bonus XYZ, so that they know that they're getting bonus content that would have otherwise just been a part of the class. But if you package it that way, then they're getting add-ons, they're getting value from your classes. Now, this isn't like a popular, you're okay. This isn't like a popular, it's always louder to you than it is to us. And I know because Billy does it. Not a popular opinion, okay? Not at all, but you guys, I'm just gonna stop the recording for 2 seconds and then turn it back on. I just like to be so naughty. Okay, but if anyone watching replay wants me to go into that more, I will. But basically you wanna offer content as like bonus content, even if it's something you would include. If it's an opportunity to include it, think about that. Yes, it's a little extra work, but what you're doing is you are taking that extra mile to provide your people with value. So that this alone, people are like, oh, why is someone going to take my class on XYZ when there's, 5 million classes on XYZ? They also have the same title, basically. How am I going to set myself apart from that? And it's not like, yes, you can get strategic with the way that you word what it is that you're putting out there, but even more so, it's what you are bringing to that class, which is that added value, added bonuses, added things like that. If you feel like your class isn't enough, there you go. Just bring more. And then prune and move something over. Is that helpful? And this could be your blog post too. I just get really eager and want to look bigger than that. And so I don't want you guys to pour out your best content for the blog. I don't want you to do that. I want you to take these big ideas, make them a big idea. And you can come up with something new for the blog, totally. It could be something super simple, but you could also just recycle your content and then lead people to your class based off of your blog tutorial, which is great. Like the more you can, that was the other thing I wanted to tell you guys was when there's a CTA, which is a call to action, you should have this everywhere, all the time. So if it's in your email newsletter, if it's on a blog post, if it's in a Skillshare class, it should always lead to something else. Which, is to get people to either opt into your stuff or buy something, basically consuming more of what you have to offer. Now, this should be very direct. So you ever get those emails that it's like, check out my this here, follow me here, here, and here, check out this, buy this. And it's like, I'm not going to do any of those things because the first one sounded enticing, but now I see all these links and it's like, yeah, maybe later, and it goes away. But if you have one call to action, and then you have socials down below, anywhere this is, it doesn't have to be an email. They can click on those socials. They know what those mean. You don't have to say, it is good if that's your call to action. It is good to remind people to follow because they don't automatically think to do that. So yeah, totally do that. But that's different. But just if you're leading people places on your own platform, on guest platforms, you want to have no more than 2 call to actions. You don't want someone to get into a decision paralysis where they don't take action. Does that make sense? Because you want them to click the button. Teresa, you're in Vegas right now. I don't know if you're listening, but that reminds me when I say click the button, where they're like in the casinos and you walk by and they're like, press the button. You know what I'm talking about? It's, what game is it? Oh my gosh, what game is it? It's the dice. It's the dice. And it's Laura. Oh man. We always play it and it's so annoying. Press the button. It's the loudest thing in casinos in Vegas, you guys. Anyway, sorry. I just had to say it because it reminded me of that. Yes, so you do want that. This can look like any package. It can be any type of material, whether it be for a giant class that's going into a smaller class. You can prune. So let's say one of you guys wants to build a bigger format of a class. Well, you can prune and take something that's not absolutely necessary, that can stand on its own. That's the other part. Or see how you can figure out how it can stand on its own. Move it over to a bite-sized class. Okay, if it's already a bite-sized class, pull something out, make that a couple blog posts. If it's already a blog post, pull something out and make it like a bonus add-on. Or another way, I don't know, this is blurry. Another way to do this is to think about, instead of supporting content, it could be 2 different tutorials, 2 different products. It could be a tutorial and a product. It could be a class and a product, whatever it is. If you can see 2 things that are similar, then that's another opportunity to, I'm giving you guys too much now and I feel it, but this is another, this would be my last thing for now. Another opportunity to say, now, a great way to get to XYZ is to grab my blank. You don't need that blank in order to be successful to do the thing. However, they complement each other very well, and you will get the most success in X by grabbing them both. That's it. You're telling them they do not need it, but it's an option. Okay. And that's a great way to spread your content out. You have multiple ways, multiple avenues. And then when you're on this part over here, do the same thing with this. Okay. As you're building more content, think, oh gosh, I already went over this in blah, I should have included whatever. That's an opportunity to then return to that content and say like, you know, I have this blah, 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 that same exact formula. So I just want you guys to have those connections as much as you want, so that people are constantly consuming what you have that you're putting out. Yeah. So Kelly, follow-up questions. I wonder if, oh yeah.
No. That was really good. The only thing that I'm thinking is that I emailed Teach on Skillshare about something, about the design team specifically, because I was wondering if I did a tutorial on your site, if I could add it as a bonus to my Skillshare class.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, no, the only thing that could be shared is the intro outside of Skillshare. That if I share something on the same topic, it needs to be original video content on your site, as opposed to sharing it also on Skillshare.
Did they specify if this was, are you hungry? Did they specify if this was specifically branded for the Pigeon Letters or branded for Skillshare? Because as far as I know, you can recycle content anywhere. It's not exclusive, unless like you can't upload anything to Skillshare that's branded for something else. That could mean like, you know, let's say on the Pigeon Letters, I had like a project area or like a comment section, and you were like on screen showing what the Pigeon Letters comment section looks like, which I don't have, and I don't know why, but whatever. It's just always something. If you were like, make sure you comment with your experience, blah, 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 and it showed my site's comment area, like that could not go on Skillshare. But otherwise, if you don't mention, or you cut out your mention of whatever else it is, like, you know, if you're like, hey, I'm Kelly, I'm on the Pigeon Letters design team, and today I'm bringing you could just cut, I'm on the Pigeon Letters design team, and you should be fine. So this is new to me.
Yeah, she wrote, and I looked at the class guidelines, and it was a little fuzzy in the class guidelines, and that's why I emailed. And this woman from Teach at Skillshare wrote, according to our class guidelines, only an intro video of a premium class can be shared elsewhere for free. If you'd like to share your skill
for free, that makes, okay. That makes so much sense. Yeah, I forgot about that. That's true. That is true. You can't offer it for free.
Yeah, it has to be behind a paywall.
Yes, that's true. Okay, that makes sense. I don't know why I didn't think of that. That makes sense. Okay, that's true. Yeah. Bonus wise though, were you were specifically saying a bonus? Was it a video content or was it a bonus?
No, it was a bonus video. So what I've done before is I'll have a class, and I'll be like, birthday and greetings. And so I did a birthday thing for you. So I'm like, oh, I'll just pop it onto my Skillshare class as a bonus, as an extra video bonus at the end. And yeah, they say only it's the intro video that can be available free elsewhere.
That makes sense. I wonder if you could, the video that you did, would it be too much work to cut it up so that it's like more bullet pointed?
Which one?
Whatever you wanted to add in, like, so that it wasn't, I guess no, because it's still that content. I'm all about recycling content. So I'm like, how can we do this?
I know, right?
Yeah. Could you, what is it? Which one?
It was a animated birthday cake with candles. So, I mean, there's like, I would have to essentially what they're saying to me is I would have to refilm it. Like, I think I could teach it, but I'd have to refilm it. And what's the point?
Yeah, what's the point? Because you've already done that work. Does anybody have a secondary free space? Because after 90 days, and that's just, you know, SEO stuff, you can put it anywhere. Do you guys have YouTube? Throw them up on YouTube. If you have a blog, throw it up on your blog. Recycle content. verbatim. Everyone in life will tell you not to do this, especially video guest posts. They want exclusive content, but I would rather people be empowered to build their own empires. Like that's what I care about more than anything. So you guys, let me tell you something about YouTube. It is a traffic driver. Oh, I don't know, Doriana. It might be 60. That's an Alina question. Although
It's
I
60.
could
It's
60. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. There you go. It's
Bye. Love you all.
Thanks, Teresa. Bye. Have fun. Enjoy your massage. 60 days. Sorry. I don't know. I discuss the preliminaries and then I leave everything and I go away. And then I'm already on to different topics because I am crazy. What am I saying right now about recycling? Oh, YouTube is like it. Let me tell you, if you are trying to be a YouTube sensation, it will take a lot of work. So I say, personally, I don't have the capacity or bandwidth to try to do that. But it can drive traffic that you wouldn't expect because of the way that their algorithm works. So I had a tutorial I did years ago on Cricut. I think I might have told you guys this, but I had a Cricut, had past tense. I don't know anything about them now. And I couldn't figure out how to have, I had holographic or whatever paper, and I just wanted to like cut my lettering. I didn't want it to print first.
I thought you had an insect pet.
Where?
as a cricket.
Oh,
I thought you had
can you imagine? Oh my gosh, that
a
would be
YouTube video about
that
it.
would be such a cute story to tell. Oh, how eccentric would I be? And you're like, what's funny is that you did not bat an eye. You're like, yeah, Peggy had a Cricut. Okay. That's the thing, like it wouldn't be the weirdest thing for me. I love that so much. Okay. Well, I wanted to just cut. I couldn't figure it out. Like the software was so frustrating. Like there was just nothing I could do to make it work. And I don't know why. Like it should just be a button. So it was really confusing. And I think it was like the way I initially launched the program or project or something. I don't remember. I'd have to rewatch my own video, which you guys, I do a lot of. oh, this is a segue. Okay. Don't let me forget this. Oh, I got it right here. Okay. Okay, I got it. So this is gonna be good for you guys. Hold on. I couldn't figure so I figured out how to do it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be bothering so many people. This is just like, I'm just gonna do a YouTube on it. And to this day, it's my most watched video. Like it blows everything out of the park, everything, because it's like a common issue, I guess, because their software is clunky AF, but it has the walkthrough and people are like, oh my gosh, this saved me such a headache. I've been trying to figure this out for hours, blah, blah, blah. Then they ask me questions like I'm Cricut customer service. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't even have a Cricut anymore. But okay, so I don't even remember why I shared that, but this is more important because this might be the reason why, which is when you guys need to learn how to do something in order to either do your own project or in order to accomplish a thing, like the minute that you learn how to do it, pause your project and do a freaking tutorial on it. Because I'll tell you what, these problems that we're solving for ourselves are exactly the problems that everybody else is dealing with. So if you solve it for yourself, you're solving it for so many other people. Like we are our biggest pain point sharers. So when you learn something, turn around and tutorial it. Seriously, I'm not even kidding. It is the best thing you can ever do. And those are always like my most, oh, I remember the thing. No, that was it. But for example, cookies. This would be unrelated to a lot of what you guys put out there. But for me, I really push into like creative entrepreneurship. It's a passion. Like it's just where I naturally evolved into. which you guys will find that you naturally evolve into things. So I needed to put, Kelly's like, yes, chocolate chip cookies. I needed to put the disclaimer that cookies are on my website. Like, I don't even think they are, but it's like a disclaimer you have to, I don't know how I'm on Kajabi. Like, does it have cookies? I don't know. I would like to, so that I know what's going on, but I'm not going to track that stuff. So do I care? I don't know, but I know that I have to have a thing on it because I have a payment wall in my, that's why I think. Anyway, I don't think it, whatever. I had to have a cookies pop up, as do most people, according to the European, there's four letters. Do you guys know what they are? E something. If I had my notes in front of me, if you're in the flock, you guys are all in the flock. I say all the things about terms and conditions and privacy policies on your website. You also need a cookies bar, which I should add to the flock content. But anyway, I did a tutorial on how to add a cookies bar like as code. It's so simple. It's just this website that I found. It was through Kajabi, because it was like, how do you add a cookies pop-up? Kajabi has an article that the article actually goes to a link that's universal for any website. And then you can like copy paste it, like copy the code. They tell you where to put it. And then you can like customize the colors. And so I was like, perfect, this is all I need. It's really simple. And I'm going to turn around and do a YouTube on it as I'm doing it. And like, I didn't even do it first. I was like, this is simple enough that I can just do it while I film. And so it's like, hey, you want to add a cookies thing? I didn't talk about why you need it. Like that could be a longer thing. It could have been a blog post with all this information on what it means and where you could use it and why. But then it gets down to exactly how to do it. So that's where I could expand on content. But instead I was like, bite-sized, bam, get this done, which is now a tutorial on the blog and a YouTube video. And it's just simply, this is where you grab this code from. Here's how you edit the code for your colors. Bam, done. Now you see it. Beautiful job. You are in your legal boundaries that are great, and you're going to do a great job. So, and then I did a post on it because I was like, oh, I found this cute graphic on Canva that has a magnifying glass that I can put over a website, but on the magnifying glass, it has a cookie. Like, that's adorable. And so I put that on my Instagram, and people were like, that graphic, like it boosted engagement just because the graphic was cute. So those are ways how in a matter of 15 minutes, I had to learn a thing. I whipped out a quick tutorial. And sometimes that's what I'll do. I'll jump into just recording something without even planning it. And then I do all the content later. At this point, I have Alina not transcribe word for word because we know I'm a rambler, but she will break up everything that I'm saying into a blog post, which is great. And if you ever get to that point, I highly recommend doing it because, oh my gosh, it saves your sanity. But you guys, it took me 5 years to get to that point. So don't think that this is something that, oh my gosh. But yeah, you can take what you jump into and then elaborate on it so that it's a standalone thing. So Kelly, if it's like, oh, I am a pro at animation on the iPad. Oh, but I have this opportunity that I could turn this into XYZ, or like maybe somebody's like, oh, is this a vector though? And you get more interest personally in doing that. You don't have to like learn and do every single thing that everyone's asking you to do. But let's say it's like, I don't even know if this is a possibility to turn a vector into an animate, maybe, I don't know. But let's say it is, and then you have to like dabble in After Effects or whatever, but you find a really simple cookie cutter way to do it. That would be so easy to just like film that really quickly as like a hot tip instead of showing someone walking through each anchor point or whatever. Because I don't know, this might be a bad example, but it's like that part is how to make your GIFs. I don't know if this is even a thing. How to make your GIFs or how to make your animations vectorize GIFs, or how to vectorize a GIF or anything like that. Sorry if you say GIFs. I just disagree. I think it's GIF. Fun fact. Fun fact. The guy, this is hearsay from Dylan, but she said the guy who came up with GIFs came up with GIF, and then he corrected himself and was like, I don't know why I would have ever pronounced it GIF, it makes so much more sense as GIF. So I don't know if that's actually true, but just so you all know, we're both right. Yeah, so that would be like an easy breakdown instead of like, here's where we're starting. Here's everything you need to know. Here's this full skill. Here's this finished result, you know, because those can be larger scale. If it's like a simple tutorial and you're doing a doodle, one of my favorite things to do is to be like, now, like you start with something that you already have sitting around and you enhance it and you build on it. Okay, is everybody here doing summer workshop retreat? Yes. So when we do that, watch Rosalie Hazlett's class, because she's also on Skillshare, but her class for workshop week was perfect. It's literally how to use gouache, 3 ways to use gouache to enhance your watercolor illustrations. And she does these really intricate watercolor illustrations. They're gorgeous. She teaches on Skillshare. She has a book that's coming out that's phenomenal. Like her feed is just stunning. But her class for workshop week is literally, she already has these finished watercolor pieces and she just walks you through adding gouache to the background and her thoughts behind it. That's literally it. And that like became a full class. She knew she needed to do it anyway. And so instead of sitting on the couch and watching TV, she took advantage of like, oh, I can make this into workshop, you know, retreats, full class, like perfect. And that's a great way to do something. So think about like, what do you have already? What do you have to finish for whatever? Another thing that is really helpful is like, if you have a passion project or a client project or something that you're working on, to recycle that content and film it as a tutorial, because you already are going to have to do it. So you don't have to separate teaching from personal work. You don't have to separate teaching from, what's it called? Client work. You don't, I mean, if it's client work and it's like an NDA kind of thing, if it's not specific enough, you don't have to share who it's for, just say, and it's actually kind of fun to present tutorials in that way, because your viewers are like, oh, I'm seeing a little bit behind the scenes, because it's, hey, today, like I have this awesome project that I'm working on for a client, and I thought this was the perfect opportunity to walk you through my process. And then they feel more connected to like you're behind the scenes. You are adding that know, like, and trust value where people are like, okay, like this is Vanessa. I'm seeing what she's doing behind the scenes. This is really cool. She's sharing a secret with me. And it's actually like half the work because it's not new content. So Myra, terminology, I don't know terminology for anything. In fact, in a lot of my tutorials, replay, she says, for the replay in chat, she said, I'm struggling a lot with trying to explain what I'm doing. She knows how to do it, but doesn't know the terminology to explain it. I'm self-taught. I don't know plenty of terminologies. You don't have to know. You can even just say like, okay, so I'm going to apply, wow. Like sometimes it's like, wow, I know this and I can't think of the word to say it or to explain it. But essentially what I'm doing is this, and just wing it, because people are just following along. You don't have to know, like if you're doing watercolor, like what on what, just say like, I'm gonna, I'm gonna lay down the sheen. I just want to make sure that it's not super wet, not super dry. And then I'm going to load my brush up again. And I'm just going to drop in this pigment that's going to start to bleed. Or going to start to spread. Like you don't have to know these specifics. I know you're not like heavy on watercolor and it's not a good example for you. But
no, what I was like, because my class for the workshop week is going to be about floral doodles. Yeah. So like I'm doing like 4 different flowers, and I know they have names, but I don't know the names and all of that. So I was like, I'm just going to do this little.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, that's okay. You guys, my botanical line.
And I know and I was trying to do like a lot of research and trying to find the names. And I know I have your book, and I was like, if I do all of this to try to learn the names, then I'm never gonna finish the class. So I was like, okay.
You can just say 3 styles of flowers. Flower number 1.
Mm-hmm. And
okay. And you could
that's what I did. But then I was like overthinking and saying like, now all the people are gonna want to know the names, and I don't know the names, and
that is true some of the time for sure. But
let them look it up.
Yeah. You could also though just describe what they look like. Like maybe one's more petite, maybe one's really like a full bloom or something. Like you don't have to be specifics unless you write a book called Botanical Line Drawing and you don't put names at the top of it and everybody complains for an entire year. And then you have to go back and name them all, except that you made a lot of them up and they were doodles and they don't actually have names because they came from your brain. And maybe they're not even flowers. And so then you have to hire somebody to do research and name 200 different flowers. And then after she's done, you have to go through and make sure they all look similar, but then you give up after 50 because you're like, this will work. So unless you do that, you're good. Because people are like, I want to know what I'm drawing. And I'm like, these leaves on like 7 of these pages look the same. It's just some lines are closer together. Some have spots. Like, I don't know. These don't have names. Like, they're in my brain. They are doodles. So don't feel bad. Like my answer for the longest time is, a lot of these are probably hybrids I made up in my brain. Like some of them are like obviously a rose, but I don't know. And that wasn't a suffice answer. Don't let that deter you though. If it's like three different types of flower doodles, perfect. And then you can say, this one's a little smaller. This one's cute and sweet. That's fine.
I have an idea. You could put the picture of the flower on Instagram and ask people if they know what it's called.
Yeah.
And get interaction. Say, hey, I drew this. I know it builds something.
Interaction.
Don't
be afraid to show up dumb. Do not. People love when you show up dumb because they then bring some of their stuff, which then it like humbles you in the vision of your whatever. If you come across polished like you know everything, oh my gosh, people will run the other way so fast. It just takes humanity out of it, That's a really good idea, Kelly. Yeah. I mean, obviously you don't have to for this, but moving forward, like that is a really good idea. This is actually a perfect example because I'm working on this huge course right now. And I had a total brain fart last night because I was talking about supporting material to add to your classes, like templates, email swipes, PDFs, ebooks, all this stuff. And like I got to like 6, I was on hour like 14 of my workday. I had nothing. And so I was like, oh, this is a prompt for engagement. So I went into the Facebook group. If you guys aren't part of it, it's for course creation. And it's more of a brainstorming, but also it's gonna, as it grows, get more into like tangible stuff. But there's a guide on there that's good already. Let me put it in the chat if you're not part of it. But what I did was, here it is. I asked people, because I was having a brain fart and I wanted to also get engagement. And so I said, what is your favorite tangible bonus to include in your tutorials and lessons? There's only 95 people in this group. I don't expect huge engagement, but already there's 2 here. And then another one was, I teach in Asana. Like I use Asana for my workflow, but I needed to figure out what other ones to include, what other ones to go over, to mention in my course. And I was like, I don't know what people are using. Trello. Like I know about Trello. I know about Monday. So I said, do you use a project management software? Asana has truly saved me on my productivity. I'm curious if you use it or if you love another one. And we've got Monday, Asana. We have questions about Asana, which is really, really good because that's where I can provide knowledge. They're already starting to build. People are starting to build into like the knowledge I have about it, which is like essentially what you want these spaces to do with engagement. Trello, Basecamp, I've never even heard of, Google Calendar, Airtable, ClickUp, Notion HQ, all of these things people are mentioning that I'm like, perfect, because now I can name drop those things and say, these are other options. I'm going to walk you through Asana. So when you don't know something, it is a really good idea to gather engagement with your people, and they'll be really stoked that you want to include them in on stuff. Yeah. Why am I blurry again? Okay, so look at that, Kelly. We were able to go over recycling content and answer that question. There we go. I have a good webcam, I swear. Oh man, we were on a call yesterday, top teacher call, and I'm like, wow, everyone's really trying to show off right now, because you know how you can hook up your actual camera to your webcam calls and it's like the background's all blurred and you're crisp and the lighting's gorgeous. So we get into these breakout rooms, and 2 of 4, me being one of the 4 people, had that hook up, and I'm like, oh, you just wanted to show your little setup there, you just wanted to be all pretty and perfect. And they're like, it's actually really easy. I'm like, I am way too lazy to do that. Like, also my screen is right here, it's huge. Like if I had it up here, I'd be looking at you guys like this, or I'd be looking at you like this, because then you'd only see, you know, nobody has time for that. Anyway, people are really fancy about their setups, and me, I'm like, I bought a $300 webcam, like it looks kind of good, not good enough, I guess. Anyway, off topic. Is all of this helpful? Is it overwhelming? Do you guys have questions about it, or even opinions? Anyone want to call me out?
I think it's helpful.
Okay. Anyone disagree?
Yeah.
I love conflict.
I don't disagree. But I love that you brought this up, because there was many times when because I'm learning my camera and just learning things, like I didn't realize that you have to change the dimensions to take the photo to use on your video. You know, like it needs to be the same dimension as your
otherwise
video,
you have to, like, resize in the thing.
And like ratios. And so I wrote them down. I'm like, oh, this would be good to add somewhere or talk about it. But then when I write it down and I don't do it right then, it's like gone. So I think like that's really nice. It's harder to go back to it. So it's I love that you stop it and then you try to do something with it right then. Would be really helpful.
It's not for everyone for sure, but I know what you're talking about, because I have like lists, just like they fall behind my desk, they're in pockets, and I pulled one out the other day of this sweater I hadn't worn since last year, and I'm like, what is this? And I read through it, I'm like, oh, ideas. Like that's, you know, so it's like maybe one day. Or I have like I have 2 boards in my Asana of like content ideas, and I'm never going to do anything with them. So like, what's the worst case scenario of you taking 15 minutes to push your project over and just do this thing real fast, and then it's done, and you can go back to your project and then edit and proceed later because it's done, and then it's staring at you like, this is ready to be done. And I know like it's not ideal for everybody, because what it's doing is it's putting more on your plate that seems disorganized. But if you can pop those into a project management software like Asana and assign dates, I batch work. So I might film something, and then like, let's say Wednesdays are to review those short clips. And I just have like a 2-hour block for it. And then if I have them, you know, like if I have them, this is my designated time to do it. And then I do it, and I can check those off and they're done. So it does help to take action right then. Yeah. Not for everyone. I know we don't like having like chaos, but yeah.
That is something I've been trying to work on, because I also do that for ideas. I love like just the visual, there's your idea in your pocket, but like I always like, I have these ideas and I put them down, but I'm really working to do it, like take action with them, because oftentimes once I put it down and move away from it, it's really hard to go back to it. And
right.
So Yeah.
Also though, like that is so much part of just like the amount and the experience that you have with doing stuff so much. Like you start, it's the overthinking part of it, and you will stop overthinking every single time that you do something. Like it'll come back for sure. Like let's say you're 8 months in, you're starting to feel really loose, but then you see somebody's quality on something or the way they structure it, and then you start second guessing everything and kind of like redoing that cycle. Totally normal. Just accept it when it comes in and just be like, this is part of the process. I have imposter syndrome. Like, why did I get so relaxed? Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. Like this happens all the time. But even that part of it, the more you just show up, the easier it is to accept. I was never this relaxed in lives or in anything, but that's one of the reasons that I like to take action, is because it allows me to take action in such a imperfect way that I don't have to like sit there and script. It's like a challenge for me to loosen up and approach something in that way. And then that energy carries into what I'm doing, and it's like loosening, it's kind of loosening up. Another part of loosening up was one of the biggest things. I mean, you guys have heard me say this over and over about stringing your personality through, and it's really hard when you're trying to focus on content. You're trying to figure out the best way to deliver it. And the best way to deliver it is like you're explaining it to a friend right now, you know? It just comes across more relatable. That doesn't happen on the first try. It doesn't. But actually, in our meeting yesterday, they were there's so many new people. I was like, oh my gosh, in these breakout rooms, these new top teachers that have been on Skillshare for under a year, they're like 15 years old. They're like 15. They're not, but they're so young. And I'm like a dinosaur over here. Like, yeah, I teach this. I'm a bright and bushy-tailed, like happy little child. One of them I found out was like not at all. She was probably older than me, but she's like, also, I'm not as young as I look because I went through this. I have a degree in psychology, and then 10 years later I did this. And I'm like, wow, she is okay. But anyway, I just felt, I don't remember what my point was, because I was, oh yeah, one of the things that they were saying in the top teacher thing to everyone was one of the biggest things that they're doing, they're curating a new workflow basically. So without giving too much away, they are curating different ways that people can walk through a learning experience, which will have their eyes on more classes, just as an FYI, without giving too much away. But one of the things that they said was the classes they'll be looking for are the ones that are, what were the words that they said? Basically what I just said, but it was like so specific, and I love the word that they used. Shoot, not robotic, not scripted. It was like a word basically where they're looking for people who are just relaxed and casual and cheery and happy, and it's just kind of like an effortless, easy walk-through flow kind of thing, which makes sense. Like that's what anyone resonates with the most. So yeah, that's not going to happen right away for everybody, but the more you can ease into that space and just know like, hey, you know your stuff, you know it. So another thing that helps you guys, I don't know if anyone's ever had a customer service gig where you have to be on phone calls. And if you've ever had a boss or someone tell you to smile while you're on the phone, just smiling completely changes the way that you talk. Do you hear how now I'm saying the same stuff? I'm still just as convicted as what I was saying, but it's like lightening things. Like I just totally lightened the way that I'm providing information. Now, you don't have to do that through your whole class, of course not, but your intros are really important to be light and to be excited and to bring people in and have them like, oh, I really want to like walk along with this, instead of, hi there, I'm Peggy, and today we are going to be going over blah, blah, blah. Like it's just boring, and it's just, it hides in, it just like camouflages in all of the rest of the classes like that, or all the rest of tutorials or whatever it is. And I think that's like one of the examples. I remember they brought, maybe I'm tooting my own horn. I'm not trying to, but I do have an ego a little bit, so maybe I am, but we all have an ego. They flew me to Skillshare headquarters to talk to all of their team about why I thought my classes were so successful. Like, this was like 4 years ago. And I was like, oh, it's because I'm showing up like as myself. I don't care about being polished. I would much rather be casual and be me. And you guys don't have to be silly, and like, you don't have to have people dance at the beginning of every lesson. You don't have to do any of that. It's just letting go of the expectations of being polished. You can have bullet points that help you not forget what you're trying to say, for sure. Less important within stuff, because like, people just want to sit down with you, you know, that's going to help. That's going to help across anywhere that you live online. And that's going to be your secret sauce. Your success, aside from your framework, is showing up as you. If you're introverted, people will relate to that. If you're soft-spoken, people will relate to that. If you're an extrovert, people will relate to that. If you're casual, if you have opinions, if you are, other than the pigeon letters, if you're a heavy cursor, not on Skillshare, but in your own platform, people will relate to that. It's just a thing. Not on the pigeon letters, don't you dare. It's like the one thing I have not, like, damn, sure, crap, sure. That's basically as far as it gets. I'm not going to throw an F-bomb in my content. I'm just not, which is funny because it's like, I just think it's unnecessary and a little bit tacky. But if it's your thing, please, by all means, not on the pigeon letters or on Skillshare. But I mean, some of the top teachers, they, you know, weave in bits of your personality, and also weave in, if it comes naturally as you're explaining something, if you think of like, oh, this is something I went through, it's like, oh, and I remember there was a time when I did this and I struggled with this in this way, like using your own personal examples. That's where you really hook people. And it's not a polished thing. It's not, when I was doing this, it's not that. It's when you are already in the middle of something, you're already explaining something, and then you organically head into an experience that you felt and dealt with. And then people are like, oh, you're in my head. Like, I get this and I relate to this. So, okay, that's a lot. I know we went over a lot. That was not my intention for this call, because I wanted to go over really simple edits and whatnot with you guys. I know a lot of you, when we started the call, there was 3 people on here and I'm like, they all already know how to do this. So I was like, it's not worth it. But we will do that next time if you want to. And I mostly want to show you not so much edits on, cutting stuff out. It's more of like how you can add in and repurpose B-roll for Instagram, any teaser type of stuff, because people really respond to video content more than they respond to like a static flat lay. So if you can show that based off your tutorial, which is really simple to do, feel free to start walking through that. But I was going to show you just kind of my process of breaking something like that down. I don't want to, because I think that I just gave you guys a lot of information to dissect, and hopefully that was helpful. So I want you to kind of focus there. It's much more important than what we were going to talk about, which is kind of funny. I'm like, let's talk about this more important stuff when not everyone's here. Oops. It's just what's going to happen. I'll probably do the same thing every time. Leanne, do you have a question?
I do. This is off topic, but sort of on topic, I guess. For workshop week, where do we put our videos?
Okay, real quick. I'm talking to Becca right now, and there's a little bit of overlap, and it's really important that we know that workshop week is Becca's and summer.
I'm sorry, summer. Oh my gosh, so sorry. Totally,
no,
because there was. Yes,
it just happened. I know.
Thank you.
And
okay.
We're literally like
And I have it titled everywhere, Summer. I know. So sorry about
I
that.
know. No, it's okay. We're just talking about it as we speak. Like I told her, hold on, I
Okay.
have a call. I'll be back. About how we can market these so that they are very separate things and they don't, it's not like a one or the other kind of thing. So we're brainstorming that. And it's also like, let's come together and make this a thing instead of clashing. We also have a mastermind together, so it's not like we would clash. We love each other very much. Just to throw that in. But yeah, it's interesting because I pulled. Okay, what was your what was your question?
Where do we put the videos? Do we put it in our drive?
That's fine. That's what some of you guys have been
doing.
doing. That's totally fine. And then I think that it'll tell us that there is an upload. I'm pretty sure. But shoot hello an email and just say I uploaded video to Dropbox. That's totally, yeah, just do that. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Everybody else, it's like WeTransfer, Google Drive, Dropbox links, like who knows? And then some of them aren't coming through, and then I have to like create a file request in my Dropbox, and it's just a hassle. Oh, hey, pick me. Okay. Who uses Premiere Pro? Vanessa. Oh, you don't, Vanessa. Myra, Doriana. Okay. Here's just a cute tip. I'm just gonna.
Well, I have it, but I don't like know all of it.
Yeah.
So I've been going back to iMovie.
Yeah, you totally don't need to know it. And I'm going to return to iMovie to see. That's what I used to use was iMovie, and it works perfectly for this kind of stuff. But oh, I just don't remember their export settings. I'm trying to open Premiere. I have so many things running right now, and my computer is like, hey, I am now this old. It's only 6 years old. It's only 6 years old. Okay, here we go. I just want to show you a setting real fast that's going to help you with your videos anywhere that you upload them. Okay. Unless you want it to be like some crazy 4K thing, which is very unnecessary. So I'm going to just show you this real fast. Okay. You guys see Premiere? Yeah?
Yes.
Cool. So I'm just going to create a new thing. I'm not going to title it. I'm just going to play here. Do you only see Premiere, or do you see my entire screen, which is super annoying? Oh.
Just Premiere.
Just Premiere. Okay. So I'm going to grab a video, and it looks like the only thing I have super accessible is, I'll just grab this one. Okay, so yeah, it's a raw one and it's horribly lit. That's okay. So let's say you have a super long video or whatever, and you're ready to export it. So I go to export. I don't know if you guys are going to see, oh shoot. Okay. Let me close all my windows so it's not confusing, because I have to show you my whole screen. Otherwise, it's not going to show you the pop-up of the export window. So close, close, close. Don't have this many windows open, you guys. It's really bad to focus. It makes it impossible. Okay, cancel. All right, you're about to see my whole screen. Desktop, cool. Look how clean my desktop is, you guys. Are you jealous? It's actually because my computer was crashing, and so I did that like optimize whatever, and it automatically put everything into this like iCloud desktop file, and I was like, uh-oh, where did everything go? So it's not even, I didn't clean it up. I'm actually kind of stressed about it because I had like, I knew where my projects were on my desk. Anyway, it's fine. So you see Premiere. Okay, so let's say I'm ready to export this after I do my edits. So format, this is normal, the H.264, I don't even know what it means, to be honest, but match source. So don't, like, it's not always, notice how I just dragged this file in. I didn't resize it. I didn't create like a perfect thing that's like, oh, my sequence is going to be this size by this size. That's not to say not to do it. Totally do it. But let's say you've already done everything. It's all here already. Maybe it's only like a 5-minute thing. This is going to save your life. To go to preset and change the high bit rate, still say match source, but change it to either medium rate or adaptive high bit rate. I've even used adaptive medium bitrate. So right here, you will see a preview, estimated file size, okay? This doesn't show up in gigs. It might show up like 1,526 mega, whatever. And then what I do is I just Google it and I'm like, okay, 1,500 whatever megabytes to gigs. And then it'll tell me. And if it's like 5 gigs, it's like, that's too big. So then I go here and I just want you to watch this number. So this says 14 megabytes. I can go to adaptive high bitrate. Oh, that's the same. It's probably because it's a small video. Let's go medium bitrate. See how it just changed that to 4 megabytes? It just completely, like it just, how much? It took that away by like over half. What was my voice doing? And then I can export it and it's still going to be great quality. So I didn't do anything except for change the preset. Okay, the other thing that I wanted to show you, if you don't use Premiere, and let's say you have rendered a video that's like crazy big and you didn't mean to, this is called Handbrake. And it's an open source editor for, I might have told you this, but I'm just going to show you what the actual interface looks like. It's funny that it's saying this because I use it every day. It's probably going to ask me if I want to open it or not. Yeah, it asks me about notifications every day too. It's so weird. Okay, so it is a open source video converter basically to either resize your file or to change the format. The reason why I downloaded this was because, or the reason how I found it was I was doing a lot of screen captures. So like I do a lot of talking head, I do a lot of demo, and usually on like your phone or a camera, you can set your export settings to MP4, which Premiere really likes, but Premiere does not like it when you marry MP4s with MOVs. And when I do screen captures with QuickTime, it was saving as MOVs, and then it would render with these green glitches sometimes over the screen, or it would just like black out for a second with a green glitch and come back. So I couldn't figure out what was happening. It wasn't in the previous versions of Premiere. I was so stressed and I was like, if I could just make these MP4s real quick, that would make things so much easier. So I found Handbrake as a solution on a forum, and it is open source, it's free. That basically, open source basically means like, it's like a community effort or whatever. So it's kind of clunky-ish looking, but I'll grab a video. This one is a QuickTime, so it's MOV. So this is perfect because Premiere wouldn't like this. And oh, that's funny because this one was taken with my phone and it's MOV. So you can see format right here. I can change it to an MP4 file. It makes things so easy, but also this is what I've been doing with every single incoming video for Workshop Retreat. Because they're all too big, I just select web optimized. And then it's turning videos that are 6 gigs into a gig. It's turning videos that are 3 gigs into like 700 megabytes. It's amazing. And you just press start and then it will save to your computer and that's it. It's the best thing ever. You can also add to your queue. So like if I add this, oops, already a destination. Oops, oh my gosh, my brain. How do I make it small again? This one. No, that made it full screen. Oh my gosh, I hate everything right now. Everything's fine. So let's say I'll just start this queue. Or not start the queue, but start. It'll say start, okay? So I start it, and then if I have other videos to do, I can just open those up and then add them to the queue. It'll say add to queue, even though that one rendered so fast because it was so short. But basically then you have a whole queue of things that will just run automatically, which is really, really helpful. And now everything, don't work on your computer while this is running because it will slow everything down. And it's really hard to be on Zoom calls when everything is that slow.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So Final Cut Pro has that as well, and I've never used it because I was scared about like the quality. Does that affect the quality at all?
You know, it will when things are extra large, but if it's like a YouTube or if it's a class, I have never seen a difference. So what I would do is export in both ways. So export in your high quality, throw it on a drive, and then export in the smaller, like medium bit rate or adaptive high bit rate. And that's what I use for stuff now. And it's great because if you have storage limitations on something, maybe you can only upload like however many gigs to your website because that's the plan you're on, it'll help with that. If you just want things to upload faster, it'll help with that. And I've not seen any quality difference at all. It will if things are large, like really large, TV style large. Yeah, it will probably affect the quality. But I mean, I learned this from this like 4K YouTube user when I was like, I need to figure out this file thing. Like, let's do some research, let's dig. And he walked through it and I was like, okay. And that's like same thing with Handbrake. I found it in a forum from these people who do video all the time. There's probably other ways around it for sure. Obviously it helps to set up your file accordingly to make it, you know, the file size that you want. But when you are, curious to know Skillshare. Oh, Myra's asking, curious to know if Skillshare is better than having your own course separate. Laughing because she said she sent it to Doriana at first. Myra, are you still here? You don't have to come on camera. I just want to make sure I'm answering your question when you're here. No? You guys still want to know, huh?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
Okay, cool.
Yes, I'm here. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that bite-sized courses are great on Skillshare. They just are. If you do something that's more in depth, you know, some people do bite-sized classes. Laura Horn is a great example of this. She has bite-sized classes on her website for around like a $30 price point. That's her thing, but I think there's pros and cons. So Skillshare has its own built-in audience. Like that's a pro. Half the people, more than half the people I think that follow me or, you know, keep up with what I do through all these years found me on Skillshare. Like that's a thing. Like it's just what happened. That said, Skillshare has become very saturated. So it can be hard to get discovered at this point. You will get discovered. You will, and you will start making passive income. Yes. There are marketing tools and tips around that, which like we can get into eventually. I'm building that course out that's like really hyper focused on this, but yeah, I do think it's good, really good for bite-sized courses and also a really good way to establish like authority in your space so that people know that they want your content and you give them a reason within your lessons that they would want to continue coming back to your classes. Having something on a LMS, learning management system. So like Teachable, Podia, Thinkific, places like that. Those are like built for, did you really raise your hand with an emoji? I love it. Those are like built for this type of stuff. Like they are built for course creation. They are a complement to your website or whatever. They have a login. Students you can brand them. That's great. I personally wouldn't do this for a class that's under like, this is just a personal preference, but for a class that's like under 2.5, 3 hours, but that's just because of the value factor. Like so much of our community knows about Skillshare. They're very good at marketing. So it might deter people who go into the mindset of, oh, I can just find this content on Skillshare. I mean, Skillshare deters people who are like, oh, I can just find this content on YouTube. That's not necessarily true, actually, because Skillshare is so much more direct and straightforward than like random videos on YouTube. But you get what I'm saying. So I think that it's good for, this is personal preference. Like a lot of people will do bite-sized courses on in their own space for sure. I do think that once you go that route, you should have a core product. So meaning whatever your first course is, that's going to be your core product that everything else that you put out will build around, because that's what people know that you put out first. You want people to be interested in that thing that you put out first to then push them into everything else that you put out. If what you put out first isn't of interest, it's not necessarily isn't of interest, but it's like so incredibly niche that it's like, niche is good, but like it's so specific, it might not be like your best seller. It's thinking bigger. So I do think it's a good idea. I will tell you right now that this course that I'm building, which will be, I mean, I have our Art Portfolio Bootcamp, which is a 6-month program. That was the first thing other than the Flock that I launched on my own site. But my first course, that's like a course, is a 12-week program. It's going to have over 20 hours of content in it, maybe even more than that, because I am like that. So that's where it's like, that makes sense to have it be its own thing. And it's going to have a lot of supporting, like it's a big high ticket item. So think about it like this. Like if you have a bite-sized class, those can sell on their own for around like a $37 price point. If you have a longer one, then let's say it's like 3 hours ish. It does a hyper focus. It's a focus-based class that could be a skill-based class, but it's like skill focused. It's laser focused kind of thing. Those are like in between $97 and $297. That's like the standard space for how much you would charge for that. Now, when things get heavier, let's say they start to be like a signature program or, you know, a longer course that takes you from A to Z kind of thing. And don't be afraid to teach the same thing that you've already taught in a structure like that. It's structured specifically in a framework that is going to reach the people it's going to reach. You're going to have lower conversion, but if you market it right, it's going to be great. This is like something to look for down the line. But once things get longer like that, you can start have price point at $597 up to $1997. That's just like, think about that as a long-term goal for sure. Just as an FYI, to get a snippet into my brain, this huge build out that I'm doing, this might change, but my price point is $897 for it. So it's an investment. It's like, think of it as like a laser focused college course type of level. Like the academics are much higher. They're very specific. There's a framework around it, but those are like the tiers of what I would say for hosting on your own platform. Now bite-sized courses, yeah, you can have a library of classes that are like $29. You can bundle those together and be like, okay, you can get, you know, these 3 classes at a bundle of, let's say if they're 29, then that's going to be nearly 90. So you could say like $75 and then you get X percentage off. Fun tip, just as an FYI, if you do stuff like this is, okay, so Kelly, this is what I'm talking about. This extra that I'm throwing in here is so unnecessary to say, which I could take that and build a whole other session on talking about this structure, but I'm going to say it anyway. Shoot. And okay, what was it? It was, here it is. Okay, so when you price something, if something is under $100, use the percentage off. If it's over $100, it's still the same percentage, but use dollar amount off. Fun tip, psychology. That's right. That's all. Because if it's like 20% off, that sounds great. 20% off of like $29 for sure. But what is that math? Alexa, what's 20% off of 29?
20% of 29 is 5.8.
No, not 20%. Alexa, what's 80%? Oh no, never mind. So 5.8, you're saving only $5, okay? And 80 cents. So you don't want to be like $5 off. that just sounds like crap. But if you say 20%, it sounds bigger. Now, if you are going for over $100 and it's 20% off, save $20, like, that nice rounded number, it's good. Or if something's 200, then you're saving $40. It's just a psychology thing. Or like if it's only 10%, people don't like 10%. So if it's like, something's $200 and you're saving 10%, then they're saving $20. That looks better than, if you do a slash through and it's like 180, something like that. Anyway, totally something for like future stuff, not having to do with what we're doing, but this is what I love to do. I love to talk about stuff, psychology behind stuff. So yeah, there's a lot there, but think about, okay, main takeaway from this call that I want you guys to think about is when you start dumping ideas, and you start to actually work on an idea, bullet point it, even if you don't want to. So I'm not really a bullet pointer anymore because I just like get on and start talking. 2 things. When you bullet point, let it all get out there, just brain dump. Don't think about it. Don't be strategic, just brain dump it out. Then go back and analyze what is not absolutely necessary to include. Pull that content out. Do the same thing with that. Make it an outline, or just make it a topic that you're going to cover. Okay. If you are one to jump in, so forget what I said about even if you're not an outliner. If you are one to jump in, I feel like Vanessa might be this way. Yeah. Yeah. If you're not one to do that, then I feel like you're the kind of person too that doesn't really edit through because you're so comfortable going through an entire tutorial. Is that right?
Yeah, I usually don't edit too much.
I don't edit. I know. So
because I'm bad at it, but
hard.
also
I know that's where it's hard because it's like you're in the middle of something, you want to add something in, and it's like, oh, but that could be its own separate thing. Like you have this mindset and you keep talking. Like I can feel that you're that same way.
Yeah.
It's like if you don't edit, it would be silly to like take a moment and write it down. But it's like, oh, but then it's going to leave your head and then it's going to take you out of your experience. So I wonder if it might be as easy as, oh, I just thought of something that I want to tell you guys in a different thing. I'm going to write it down real quick. Okay, let's keep going. Like that's something I would do. But I just like in thinking about like, how can you capitalize on these ideas as they organically flow? I know you could say it and not elaborate it, and then use that little snippet to elaborate on later. So it's not like you don't have to include it. You're just thinking about ways to do it. But then you want to remember it later. You'll probably remember if you say it out loud. Anyway, just ideas. I'm the exact same way. Like, oh, and you guys, and it's probably because Vanessa does so many lives too. Vanessa's the only person on the calendar that's doing a live right now, I think. Anyway, coming up. Wait, isn't it super soon?
I don't even know. I haven't done my July calendar yet.
I haven't either. I just saw it. I have you on Monday to do a live, which
perfect.
I'm making a mental note to myself. Alina's on vacation starting tomorrow, which is going to be tough. Oh, it's going to be so tough.
If you need to reschedule or anything, I'm always super flexible.
Let's reschedule so that I can have her set up a promo for it. Actually, It's going to be so simple. I think that we should just do it. And yeah, I can just shoot a quick email that's like casual. You guys, casual flash lives, people are all about, and you'd be surprised at how many people show up. I'll put something out tomorrow because tomorrow is my email day. So if there's an email going out, I'll add to it. If there's not one, I'll just send one because it's going to be really fun. And then I'll send a reminder like a half hour before. I'll set these up right now when we get off.
You don't need like a finished project, do you? Because for lives, I usually just kind of like fly off the cuff.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
lives are so cash. You guys, if you're available 10 a.m. Pacific time on Monday, watch Vanessa's live. Okay, tune in. And then we can, just so you can be familiar with how loosey-goosey they can be. It's going to help you in your content later if you can show up live. because then you're just so much more relaxed. You might not be in the beginning. Anytime that I have to jump on calls or jump on lives, the first the 5 minutes leading up, it's like, oh my gosh, I have to show up like right now. Like, when do I press live? That process. But the minute you start talking, it's just like, and I'm there to facilitate. Like, I'm there to ask you questions. If you feel, I will be able to sense if you're having like a hiccup and you're not really knowing like the direction to go. I'll ask you questions. Like, I am there to support you. I'll probably just be in the corner drinking tea. I don't drink coffee. When Vanessa's on, I probably will just be like knitting. I don't knit. But my point is, I can facilitate. You don't have to worry about any of that. I just want you to ease into this. I'm really good at filling empty space. You don't have to worry about filling empty space. Like, I want you guys to feel comfortable doing this. Now, that being said, you do not need to do lives to be anything. Whatever your goal is, you don't ever have to do a live. But people love seeing you live. It's a thing. Are the lives on YouTube? That's a good question, because I'm like, do I want it to be? It'll probably be on YouTube. That makes the most sense. Plus, I have followers on there probably that don't follow me anywhere else. YouTube sounds good. Yeah, Vanessa?
Wherever you want.
Okay.
I'm like really go with the flow.
I think we'll jump on, let me see if she already set one up, because we can jump on a Zoom and then stream to YouTube. Yeah, it is a Zoom meeting, it looks like. I'm just looking here. Like, isn't there a setting? See, I don't even know to stream to YouTube. There's got to be a setting somewhere. That's something I need to find out before Monday. If not, then I will use Ecamm and stream to YouTube. Actually, that would be the perfect time. Huh?
I've done streaming from Zoom through YouTube, so I know there's a way to do it.
Okay.
But I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
It was the other person who took care of it.
I know there's a way too. What?
Oh, this is kind of related to that, but when you're doing those lives, how do you have both your, how you do like the top down and your video? Yeah, could you?
So
maybe not right now or whenever, but it would be great to kind of see how you do that. Or
I can walk through that, but just to nutshell that answer. I will either use two different cameras. So I'll use like my webcam and then my phone, and I'll just dial in I'll join the meeting from both places, from my computer and from my phone. And then the person who's presenting can toggle. That's an option. Otherwise, even when I do news, because I have a monthly news plug for our local news, which is really funny. I was before we did that, and it wasn't easy for me to set two things up to switch and toggle, because if two things are connected to your computer, you can click between cameras. And my other webcam was so bad with the lighting, because it was so early in the morning that we would go on, that I would just say, okay, so I'm going to take you on a ride real quick. And then I would hook it up and it would be like this, but I tried to make it as smooth as possible. And then we would be on, and nobody cares. Like, nobody cares if they have to go on a ride for a minute. So just have your thing already positioned to where you know you're going to put it. It can be your phone. It doesn't matter. Like, you can go on live and hold your phone. I have YouTube videos where I'm like, I'm not setting up right now. And I just record myself holding it. I'm like, hey guys, so I'm a vlogger today. Yeah. Casual is fine.
And I love you just showed a little bit of your mic. Is there a mic that you would recommend? Because now that I'm going through all this, when I'm doing like a little voiceover or editing my video, I have this mic and it's on my camera.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know what to do when I'm not on the camera. So I've just been recording and talking like that. So looking for like a good mic to talk into.
So this is, I don't know how you guys hear it. If it's closer, it sounds a lot better for sure, but I am too lazy to do that. And so I don't have it set up on one of those things. I have it down here and I'm like, this works good enough. So this one I love so very much because they have it as an option. Let me grab the link for you. It's not cheap. It's not super expensive. If I don't know what cheap and expensive means to everybody because it's different for everyone, but this one has an option to connect directly via USB, which I love. Like less cords, better. And I grabbed this 2020 plus after Jake. If you've ever watched any of, you probably haven't because it's not like our interest space, but Jake from State Farm, from Jake Bartlett on Skillshare does Adobe After Effects, and this is the exact one that I use. He suggested it and his audio sounds so good all the time. And so this is what I use. And it's great because like I have you guys pretty loud. This is right in the middle of my computer and myself, and you guys don't pick up on hearing yourself and you just hear me. It kind of like I use it exactly as it came. So I have it on its little tripod and then I have this open. This is what it looks like. It has a headphone option to see like how much you hear. It has the monitor option. I've literally never touched either of those. And another trick that I want to share is not a trick, but let's see. If anyone uses a Mac, if you go to your settings and then you go to your audio, I think it's under sound, right? Oops. Okay, so input level. I was told for a long time that I was too quiet. So does this come across differently? Am I pretty quiet now? Okay, so this is your input volume. So you don't have to scream. And if you're too loud, you don't have to like try to whisper. I find that this is kind of a sweet spot for me because I'm further away from my mic. So go into your settings, which, you know, if you're in a Mac, and then go to your, where was I just now? Sound. And then you'll find your like internal microphone that's built in. Did it just change to my internal? Do you hear the difference? Maybe, I don't know if it changed because it might be Zoom settings, but anyway, this is my mic that I'm using and you can change the input volume, which saves the day. It just saves the day.
Thank you so much. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah. But I'll tell you
a little tip.
Leanne, in your tutorial, your voice comes across really, really crisp and nice and easy to hear, just as an FYI.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's like a workaround, like it picks up my voice really well. I'm just recording a video and then I'm just taking the video out of it, but it would be nice to just have like,
I was doing that for a really, really long time. And then I ended up getting this guy, which is an on-cam Rode mic. And it's the best one that I've found. The problem is, and I plug this into my phone. The problem with this is if you're further away at all and you're doing like talking head kind of stuff, you know how many times this mic that I just showed you is like sitting in my lap, just out of frame, or I have like a little side table and it's just out of frame and I'm like, hopefully this works. So I have a lav mic by Rode. I've got their, what's it called? The Wireless Go, which I haven't mastered yet. I have all these mics and I've tried them and I'm like, what can I truly say that I love so much? When it comes to that kind of stuff, just having, this is my favorite that I use for everything.
That's good to hear because you hear so many good things about Rode mic and then you read all the reviews. Yeah, so
everything that I've ever bought from Rode has been excellent. And they have a version of something like this. I feel like it might be more expensive. I can't remember. I don't have that one. But I bought this based off of Jake Bartlett's, I was like, literally whatever you use, just tell me and I'm buying that thing. Because his audio is just so crisp and so clear and he sounds like a radio announcer. And I don't know if I sound that way right now, but I'm hoping that I do. Did you like that I was really enunciating my consonants?
NPR, Peggy.
I tried not to have the pop because I don't have a pop thing on here. Anyway, I'm done. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, so I hope that helps. We can definitely get into production more though, because I geek out about it. It's also, FYI, very unnecessary. It's just really fun to geek out on gear. And it's like a little treat when you upgrade and then you want to make more videos. So I know this from personal experience, 100% not necessary. My first handful of classes were done with the wired earbuds from Apple, like where I took the wire and like draped it over something so it didn't show up. Like my phone was recording and it was on the tripod and I took the little wire and like hooked it onto the tripod, and then every once in a while you would see like it just come into frame, like just drape just a little bit in the corner. Like nobody cares. Or like I remember when I tried to crop it out, like all of a sudden there was a frame change because I would just be like nothing. Totally unnecessary. But it is fun to have an upgrade if you can afford it, and it's like a little gift for yourself, like even just a celebratory milestone whenever you do something or push yourself in these endeavors. Like those types of treats are better than any cake. I love cake, so that's huge for me to say. Okay, anyway, unnecessary pleasures of life. 3 minutes. Okay. Cool. That was helpful, yeah? Good. Okay. Now I will leave you with that. Think about, dig in and do some homework, and think about like whatever's been like looming or like upcoming projects, and just do kind of like a brainstorm, Vanessa, or a brain dump, everybody who likes putting things on paper. I am more of a brainstormer, but I want to show you for my course what I've been doing. Like this was just, I bought a new notebook for it, but this was just yesterday. And I am not a note taker, and like we are full of notes. And yesterday, this was like 30 minutes of consumption, maybe a little longer because I had to pause and take, but you know, or dissecting stuff. And it's just because the structure and the way that we can spread things out, it becomes easier when you do it more and more. This is actually something much more in depth, but this is how I start all of these types of new ways to think, is by getting it all out, having a structure. I'm very visual on Asana, but sometimes the act of writing things down, it like sticks in my brain, even if I have like printouts or templates or visuals or whatever. It's just so much easier. So anyway, that who had their hand up first?
Me. I think it's so cute to have their hand up. No, but I have a question. So I'm thinking of doing a freebie for my class for the workshop. I don't have it ready yet, but I have the website, not the website, the link. So I just sent you the link to it, and then it will be ready, you know.
Yeah.
I'm going to have it ready within the next couple of days, but I just wanted to.
Asking where to send or use that link?
Yes. So like in the workshop, I tell them that I have a freebie that they can use, and I tell them to click on the link below. So that's the link that I'm thinking on using. Okay. It's not ready yet.
The way that will work, the video will live 2 places and resources will live 2 places. So the way that this is structured is I'm going to be using a program called Ecamm to have everything streaming, and I can put text in overlays easily live. So what I'm going to do is I have everyone's links, and I'm just going to have that exist small on the bottom so that people just know where to go. I don't know that it's clickable. It's not going to matter. People can type stuff in, even if people direct to say click. Now, Where your video will live for people who opt in to the permanent vacation is within, you guys are part of the flock, so you see the downloads and stuff. It will live there, so they will have that access.
Oh, okay.
But the link will also be there. So the very first thing under your video is your materials, and it'll have the materials used, and then I'll say like, Myra provided this download for whatever, and then it clicks and goes to
the download.
Yeah.
So would it go to the download, or would it go to like a sign up for
ideally to your sign up? That would be best for you.
I did. Okay.
But if you don't have that, it'll go to the download. Whatever you give me, that's where it will go.
Because that's what I was thinking to do. Kind of like do like a separate sign up form so they can put the email, and then I'll send them there.
That's the best way to do it, because then you're gonna have opt-ins, which is what you want. You want people on your list.
Okay.
The other place it will live is I'm building out a materials guide. So it's going to have the materials guide is the schedule, but also all the materials everyone's using. So any links that you guys provide me, I'm putting and attaching to that as well. So they'll have that ahead of time, and they can get prepared for lessons that way. Yeah.
Okay.
So
that sounds good.
Leanne, what was your question?
Okay, so I have two questions quickly. Yeah, for the resources, and she just brought that, I'm trying to figure that out too. I'd like to offer like something that they can draw or paint along with me. That would be good, but I don't have my email set up or anything like that.
Oh, yeah, so there's two things, you guys. One is, if you want to set something like that up, cool. You can always change what you give me. The other thing is you don't have to provide a link. You can give me the direct downloads. The people who are doing that, I'm putting it into Dropbox and then creating a link so that they just grab it from a Dropbox file. So I'm just creating like the Dropbox, share, and then making it a bit.ly to make it easy for them to go to. So it'll just be bit.ly/workshop retreat Leanne. Is in all, that's what it'll be.
And is that where I would include like the brushes that I'm using, like links to the brushes? Should I include that, or is that
anything that you want to include? Anything I can, if it's like links and files, I'll separate that and I'll just say these are the brushes that she's using, and then I'll have a link to that, and then these are the downloads that Leanne provided or whatever, and I'll have a link to that. Yeah. And if the link is confusing, or if the link doesn't, like, if it's too long, don't worry about that. I will bit.ly it, and it'll be so easy for people to digest and get to. So don't worry about any of that.
And then thank you. And for the videos that we're doing on the blog, is it okay to do some like on those types of tips that you're talking about, even though it's not using your pens or brushes or anything like that? Or do you want it to be focused on the using so it's just a little like that would be something we would do on our own site, or
which you should do totally.
Right.
Yeah, cool. All right,
thank you.
I gotta jump off. You guys have homework. Sort of. If you're on, you should be on, but if you're not, anyway, just mark your calendars to go to YouTube at 10 o'clock Pacific time on Monday. Vanessa's like, uh-oh. If that time doesn't work for Vanessa, she'll let me know and we'll know. But if you're on my email list, you will get a notification exactly with a link of where to go for the live. I don't know the logistics. I'll figure that out. I don't know how I want to lead people there. I mean, maybe just to my general YouTube channel, because you'll see that it's live if you go to someone's general YouTube channel, right? Yeah. Like, because I'm not going to have a link before we're live. And if I do, then it'll just be like waiting, and it'll be like 3 days out. Anyway, welcome.
You can do like a premiere type thing, like the live is starting in like, 2 hours or 3 hours or something like that. And they can get notifications.
Just so you guys know, that's not the structure at all for Workshop Retreat. Like, it's going to be on Workshop, it's going to be on its own website. So don't worry, I have that all figured out. I'm just like, for quick lives though. All right. Okay, you guys, take that info, dissect. Let me know if you have any preguntas later. And I hope this is helpful. And I love seeing your faces.
Right back at you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you.